Words are about to be spoken on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, brought to you by the Ad Free Shows, Podcast Heat, and Wrestling According to Alba Networks. I'm John Alba, that guy right there going through the motions. He's quite literally going through the motions. That's the broken one, the woken one, the spoken one himself, Mr. Matt Hardy. What's going on, my man? How are you on this Thursday, January 16th, as we tape this?
Doing great. Good afternoon, John. How are you today as well? How's the weather up there, man?
It's cold as shit. I'll tell you that. It is real cold here. I mean, you're in a sweater. I rarely see you in a sweater, so I'm almost going to ask you the same. It must be brisk down there.
It's chilly for sure. And this is a new sweater. I wanted to break it out too. I just
very
bought it
nice
this weekend. I did the Comic-Con down in South Carolina, and Saturday when I got off, I went to the mall and splurged on myself a little bit because I never ever do that. It's always the kids or my wife or whatever else. But I put me first for just a minute. So got a couple new items.
You don't know or understand how hard it is to be Matt Hardy, for that matter.
You have no idea. You really don't.
So I'm very frugal with myself. I'm happy to spend money on other people, but when it comes to myself, I'm like Mick Foley. So I'm
right,
willing.
Exactly.
I'm willing to sleep on the floor of the motel if I got to save a few bucks for myself. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Thankfully, I got my True Classic tee on that fits so nice and snug.
You can't beat it. True Classic's the best. I love it. Now that True Classic has been with us, I rock those shirts nonstop.
Oh, they're so comfy. This isn't even an ad. I'm just speaking arbitrarily here. But we already got a run-in.
Oh, look at that. Hi, Barney.
I got the Matt Hardy figures.
Oh, okay. Good promo.
You've got a
like
Matt and Jeff. All right.
Nice.
All right. We'll just tell everybody hello. All right.
Hello,
see you later.
You don't love these figures?
Sure. I'll hold on to them. All right. See you later.
Protect them. Guard them with your life.
You guys can have the figures.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's very kind of you. My son just delivered these to me.
What are those? The 2017, 2018 WWE ones there?
Yeah. Okay. You got a woken Matt Hardy and a Brother Nero.
Brother Nero with the colorful sleeves there. Love to see it.
Indeed.
We have an Ask Matt Anything episode coming up here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, which these are some of the best as we get into it. Our episode last week about Netflix got a lot of discourse. There were a lot of people talking about it. You get any feedback from anyone on that?
I mean, I saw some positive feedback for sure. I'm sure there were some people split, just depending on where they stand on, the wrestling tiers. I think diehard pro wrestling fans, which, people more internet driven, IWC, people more in the know of the business. There's some, they had issues with the show. I feel like more people that were just standard, regular or casual wrestling fans, I felt like they enjoyed the show, and I felt like it was a great way to kick it off. I even loved following through with this week. This weekend was a little more focused, a little more tuned in on newer talent and fresher talent, and more about working towards the future. It wasn't just a celebration of WWE, and I thought it was a very strong showing this week as well.
Yeah, that was my whole thing last week. Remember, I was just saying it felt like the whole main cast was kind of thrown to the side for Rock and Taker and all these people saying how great WWE is. And then you go back to the nucleus of the company this week where you've got this fantastic cast of characters and Punk, Rollins, Chad Gable, the Penta debut, which I'll ask you about momentarily. But it just felt like a much stronger show in terms of chemical makeup to me. And I really liked this week's episode of Raw. I think Raw, truthfully, and I can't believe I'm saying this because for so many years it was a meme of like how painful it was to get through Raw. But I think Raw is probably the strongest wrestling show on television right now.
This week was very strong. And I mean, once again, we're going to differ on that a little bit because we see things different, especially from internally being inside the business for over 30 years. I understand why they do that, why they rely on nostalgia and they bring out old acts, because if you're trying to gather new eyeballs, I totally get it, and it totally makes sense. And I would probably do it the same if I was booking. I would think things through pretty thoroughly, and I would be very I would be very careful on the people I decide to march out and how I decide to march them out and how long I'm going to march them out. But I do think that's important, because when you debut on Netflix, there's going to be a lot of people that have Netflix. They just go, oh man, I haven't watched wrestling in years. And when they come across a person like, and I'll even throw more people in there, you have a Rock, a John Cena, You have the Undertaker that was on there, even Hulk Hogan, for a second, even CM Punk. I think even having him on there was a great thing on that first episode that you definitely want to have. I think it's important to like say, oh shit, this guy's still around in wrestling. I'll have to start tuning into this. This is cool. I think it's a good hook. Now I know there's several people that are in wrestling that are more focused on the present and the future going forward, but that is, I knew they would get back to that. They were automatically going to get back to that, obviously, but I think you threw out a big hook and you throw some stuff out there that you only see once in a while, and I think that was part of the whole lure of the first Netflix episode.
What do you think of the Penta debut?
I thought it was tremendous. I thought it was great. I thought Penta going out working against Chad Gable. Chad Gable was great for him. Chad Gable is just, he's tremendous. He is such a great talent, and he's also just a great guy on top of this as well. But just for Penta to go out and work against Chad Gable in a really competitive, good, strong match is just how Penta needed to be introduced. Once again, I say if you have some powerhouse, someone like Bobby Lashley or even Shelton going from WWE to AEW, the wrestling fans that are watching AEW, they're going to know who Shelton Benjamin is because he has been on the biggest show and he's been around for a long time. Bobby Lashley as well. I think they need to have strong wins. Penta, the majority of the crowd knew who he was because the people that come and attend shows typically watch wrestling and keep up with wrestling and most all forms of wrestling. But whenever he came out, he got a great reaction. And I think a new viewer that is watching Penta for the first time at home, watching on the TV screen, they're like, wow, this guy's really talented. This is reminiscent of Rey Mysterio to me. I think he's going to be like someone that becomes a big star like Rey Mysterio. And I think that was totally the right direction to go with Penta.
I saw a clip from Jim Ross on Grilling JR where he mentioned how one of his concerns was there are so many great luchador style talents out in wrestling right now. So you have to be careful that someone like Penta doesn't fall by the wayside. And I understand that it's easy to get lost in the shuffle with how many great talents there are. I mean, even in WWE, there are so many great high flying talents that have a very similar style to Penta. Obviously in AEW, that was certainly the case, but in WWE, it's true too. But I think what makes Penta stand out is his presentation. He just has a larger than life aura that comes with him and with the mask. I mean, they were selling masks before he even debuted on Monday. And the promo after the match, they put him over as a big time star where you got to think, Matt, this is someone who could be a major player right away for them.
I think he has a great upside. And let me ask you this, John, did AEW make mask? I'm not sure.
No.
They didn't make mask at all.
Nope.
So, I mean, I think capitalizing on this mask is a huge deal. And WWE, nobody does merchandising better than they do. So, yeah, great. And I thought it was smart to go ahead and put it out right from the jump because there are so many people in the know. There's so many people that follow the business, and those people are willing to spend money and buy merch, in some occasions. So, yeah, put it out there, man. I didn't hate that at all that they did that and released that early. And on top of all of this, as on top of Penta being a very talented athlete and performer, me and him, we had a little bit. We said, yeah, we'll just go Shakespeare, baby, Shakespeare all day long, Shakespeare. And that was our thing because we got to work a couple times in AEW, and I said, he gets the entertainment aspect of pro wrestling. So on top of being a great pro wrestler and a great luchador, he also gets the entertainment aspect. So that equals for success in WWE.
There have been people who have said he's one of the hardest hitters in all of wrestling, like his chops and some of his moves are stiff. And in a good way, like laying it in. I mean,
sure.
What can you share about that?
I mean, I was okay with him. He works snug, and I'm fine with that. As long as someone works snug and they're not dangerous, I'm always fine with that because I don't mind working snug like that too.
Yeah. I think he's a big time star. And if Rey Fenix ends up coming into WWE at some point, which it almost seems certainly will happen at some juncture.
Yeah, it's inevitable now, right?
They could be a really big deal. And we've talked about it, how 2024 was a really down year for tag team wrestling in general in wrestling. And I think you bring the Lucha Brothers in with the WWE machine behind them. And I think you've got a really big team to build your division around. So we'll see what ends up happening.
They'll have great life and they'll have a great run too.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
And I'm so happy for those guys because they're both good dudes. They're both very talented, and they have busted their ass working, from the bottom up. They've been through the trenches. They've done it all, and I'm very happy to see Penta get an opportunity at WWE to get put into a spotlight, to get the to get the opportunity to be a star on the highest level possible. And I think he's someone deserving of that. Ray Phoenix as well. Like, I would love to see the Lucha Bros have a great run in WWE, because that is the highest you can possibly get in pro wrestling.
Well, and they're one of the rare tag teams too. I mean, you and Jeff were one of them, Edge and Christian one of them, where both guys in it could conceivably be main event top guy talents. So I think that's pretty unique when you come across that. And they certainly hold their own. So we will see what happens with the Lucha Brothers. You did get a chance to watch AEW this weekend. There was a lot of discourse going around this 12-man tag that's airing on Collision this week, and a whole lot going on. Private Party faced the Hurt Syndicate. I thought the venue was pretty cool that they ran over there in Louisville. I thought the venue looked great on TV, in fact. Samoa Joe came back.
Was it in Louisville or Cincinnati?
Cincinnati, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you for the correction. Yeah. Cincinnati. I know our Extreme Life faithful, Josh Fields, was there. He got a picture with your boy, Satnam Singh. Satnam was towering over him. But you had some thoughts on this AEW show, Matt. We were talking about off air before. What did you think of it?
I mean, I watched the Private Party segment, and obviously everyone knows I'm very, very invested in Private Party. And I think whenever they won the titles, the genuine crowd reaction should have been a strong statement. Like, hey, we're, there's a lot of authenticity, that shows the love from the crowd for Private Party. And they were so happy to see them finally overcome the odds and beat the Young Bucks and win the titles. So I think you had the opportunity to do something special with them and elevate them. And I would love to see them elevated just because they're day one guys. Now, even I would say the little bit of a complaint that I had with it, it isn't fixable right now, but like with Private Party, they go out and they have this match, and it was a very strong win for the Hurt Syndicate at the end of the day. And that's okay. But Private Party really has to defeat them strongly for the titles as they defend the titles if they're doing that, because like you're going to get to this point where I've got more action figures right now. Look at that. More Matt Hardys. Okay. Thank you, Barty.
I'm really looking for more of these. I'm trying to collect them.
Okay, thank you. I'm making a great point right now.
He's a collector. Okay.
Right. He is a collector. So I just feel like
he'll be hounding you at hotels soon.
Yeah, right. I feel like Private Party, it's really easy to make people lose faith in them quickly if you don't instill faith in them. And they're walking a very fine line with what they're doing right now, because these guys, they won, and the authenticity of the crowd was tremendous. They were happy to see them overcome the odds and actually become the AEW Tag Team Champions, something they've had a goal to do for 5 years, but now there's still, there's not a lot of wiggle room in like not trying to make them look like strong champions, to make them like champions that should be there. I mean, I understand you give them the titles, that does help them. But like, if you want to build them, you can build around them by making them look as strong champions. And still, they could go out and they could have a match with the Hurt Syndicate and they could defend the title successfully and things could be okay and they could get back on it. But you can see that the audience is starting to lose faith in them. And I feel like that is one of the issues with AEW. There's been times where Wardlow could have been a made guy and it didn't happen. Ball got dropped. DG, he finally did win a championship and he was doing that, but there's been several times where it's like he was on the verge of breaking through and becoming a guy and it didn't happen. And with Private Party,
nothing with him since he won the title.
Yes, in Private Party, I feel like they're teetering right now on like being, over or, being an afterthought. And that is one of the things that is so vital for AEW to do. You have to make your young talent, especially when you get those opportunities. And I feel like a lot of the reasons they end up relying on guys like a Christian Cage out there and Adam Copeland, even Jeff Jarrett being out there, whatever, some of the older guys, right? Even Bobby Lashley, MVP, Shelton Benjamin. I mean, these are people that people know and they will buy tickets to see them, but it's so important to make these AEW guys too as well, so that they will eventually become household names and they would become people that people know on a general basis, and they will spend money to buy a ticket to watch those acts. And that's something I feel like that is a bit of an issue in AEW.
I definitely agree with you, and there becomes the sentiment of like Cope's taking up a lot of TV time, the Jeff Jarrett's are taking up a lot of TV time, you're alluding to some of that, and it is all this cyclical star making formula, right? And this is something that WWE really struggled with for so long, where they were relying on Brock and these part-time guys to come in and carry the interest and carry so much of the program for a great portion of 2011 to 2021, 2022. And then when that shift happened and the focus started being on really owning in on building the stars active on your roster and giving them the equity, giving them the investment, look how many main event caliber talent WWE has right now. And I'm not comparing WWE to AEW in that sense, but my point is this happens in pro wrestling. So it just requires that true investment on your active current talent. And that's why I was so hell-bent in our conversation about last week's Netflix stuff, where I understood they were probably going to go back to business as usual in week 2, but week 1 is where you had all the eyes. And you've got those casual eyes, and yeah, those casual eyes were excited to see The Rock or Taker or whatever, but that didn't mean it had to come at the expense also of investing in your active roster. And I hope what you just said resonates with some people, because I think you're 100% right. And on the AEW front, you hope that guys like Private Party don't go by the wayside, or guys like Hobbs don't go by the wayside, or Daniel Garcia, or whomever it may be. But there have been a lot of instances. One of those guys is Malachi Black, who's had a rocky run, and it's reported that he could be on his way to WWE. You have any thoughts on his potential AEW exit?
I mean, an extremely talented individual, very unique. He's a niche performer, which really stands out. And I mean, yeah, I mean, that would not shock me at all. That would not surprise me at all. They've had a very strange, I feel like probably because of Malachi Black and being the leader, I feel like the House of Black has had a very strange relationship all through AEW while they've worked there. It's been very off and on, right? But yeah, him showing back up in WWE, that's certainly not out of the realm of possibility.
Certainly so. Well, I can guarantee one thing, Matt Hardy. Anything can happen in the extreme life of Matt Hardy, correct?
Yes. Anything can happen in the extreme life of Matt Hardy.
Well, something that will be happening is that we are headed to Indianapolis at WrestleCon, January 31st, the night before the Royal Rumble. It's the Hardy Party live on stage at the Indianapolis Marriott downtown, starting right after SmackDown gets off the air. A live Extreme Life of Matt Hardy talking all about the iconic tag team tables match at Royal Rumble 2000 against the Dudleys, followed by a Jeff Hardy live acoustic concert. You gearing up for this one, our first of 2025?
Yeah, man, it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. And always, you know, whenever you're around a huge event like the Royal Rumble, there's going to be so many enthusiastic fans that are just, you know, craving, you know, for entertainment, that are craving for stories, that are craving for nostalgia. And we're going to be delivering all those things when we talk about the Royal Rumble 2000 and the first ever tag team table match in WWE history.
Very excited for this one. Get your tickets now, WrestleCon.com. You'll see a tab for the live events that they've got going on, and you can purchase your tickets to the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy live on stage. I'm going to be there. Matt's going to be there. It will be absolutely wonderful at the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy live. Matt, we got so many questions to get to, so I don't want to waste any more time. But before we can, you know what I got to ask. Please hit us with that Matt fact.
Matt fact. Matt ironically likes mustard barbecue sauce.
Ironically likes it.
Yes, it's ironic because he strongly dislikes mustard.
Oh, okay. I see where we're going with that. I see. I thought you were going for like a Carolina irony thing, but yes, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. I mean,
I shaved down the Matt fact for you, John, because I was going to say Matt ironically strongly likes mustard barbecue sauce. So I trimmed out that one word. I figured the ties would get in there.
I got you. I thought you were making a Carolina.
So I did that once again, and I have had it a few times, and I've always enjoyed it and liked it. And I was able to catch up Mission Barbecue, and they had two different kinds, and they had some brisket. It was so good, and I ate the majority of it with that mustard barbecue sauce, and it was great. It was fire, as the kids say.
It was facts, bro. Facts. Yeah.
Amen. Hey, it was fire. No cap.
No cap.
That is Whoopi. Whoopi says that all the time. No cap, and it pops the shit out of me.
Oh my goodness! Old Wolfie's a cook now, so he was dropping some recipes on me the other day.
Yeah.
That was yeah, okay. So all right, so what are we doing the Carolina barbecue sauce on?
I had her on brisket.
Bris-
I had. I'm gonna get a 2-meat platter. I'm kind of a 2-meat guy. I had pulled pork and I had brisket, but I had a bigger portion, and I ate it on that, and it was so good. I mean, the brisket was good. It was soft. You never know what you're gonna get there. It's not a damn good barbecue, but it was really good brisket that I had that night, and yeah, I just enjoyed the mustard sauce on it. There were 2 different variations. One was like from Georgia, and then one was branded from some other state. They have 7 or 8 different kinds of sauce.
Well, the mustard is all Carolina region, so that makes a lot of sense that you're digging that because you get that Carolina lightning kind of sauce. Yeah, I mean it's the perfect thing to do if you're at home, just chowing down on barbecue. Maybe you got something good on the TV. Maybe you got the NFL playoffs on the TV, and if you do, well, then we encourage you to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Hardy because when you bet just $5, Matt Hardy, you get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs. You bet
we're just about there, John. We're just about there.
We are there, buddy. We're all there.
Yeah, we are there.
And we can help you get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. You ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. You just go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Or maybe you want to put something down on the spread. Right now, Matt Hardy, take a listen to this. The Kansas City Chiefs -8.5 favorites against the Houston Texans. I don't know, man. I mean, look, I know you're a periphery sports fan these days, but it's pretty hard to ignore what Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have been doing the last few years. Do you think a three-peat could be in store for them?
Yes, I certainly wouldn't rule them out after all the magic they've been making in the last couple of years. Yes, they can never be ruled out.
They got Taylor Swift in their pocket too, so that's something I know my girlfriend's paying attention to. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. How you do it? Here's how. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Hardy. That's code Hardy for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-78-97777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. We asked everyone to send their best Ask Matt questions in for the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Our first Ask Matt of 2025. Are you ready?
I am ready, yes. And I'm excited about this too, because I haven't looked at any of these questions that were asked. I have no idea. We're just doing them right here on the spot. We're just going to call him the Ring Brother.
We are.
Brother.
We got Danny, who's part of the Wrestling According to Alba family. He was there in Philadelphia when the Hardys made their return to TNA. He says, what are your predictions for the final season of Stranger Things? Do you think there might be a way that Eddie comes back? I have a feeling Will is going to have a huge part of it.
It seems like Eddie is going to come back from the little bit of info I've heard. And I would imagine that he was such a popular character, it doesn't surprise me that he does come back. I am curious. I really don't know which direction they're going to go with it. I think there's going to be a lot of the upside down involved in this. So I don't know. As long as they give me a good dose of Vecna and I get to see some classic Stranger Things stuff, I'm going to be very happy with it. But I am excited for season 5 to come out.
I know that's one of your shows you do get some time to actually sit down and pay attention to. So we'll see. I know that's going to be probably one of the most streamed shows ever. I'd have to imagine that season. Yeah. So,
but plus there's been so much build because they lost all the time shooting it, throughout the whole pandemic, because it was supposed to be out way earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a long time coming.
Yes.
They say. All right, we got Bill Morris. What is it about wrestling that keeps your passion intact? Is it the athleticism, the storytelling, the creativity? We're all aware of Jeff's hobbies like art and music. Do you have another hobby that you're equally passionate about?
I think what keeps me passionate about pro wrestling is just the storytelling and just the whole art of it. It's not so much the athleticism. That is definitely not high on my list of priorities when it comes to pro wrestling. I think the creativity is a very important part. I obviously do all that I can physically to try and stay in the best physical shape that I possibly can be. And I do enjoy trying new things, doing new things. I think that is probably the biggest thing with Jeff and I being able to tell new stories by doing new moves and being new personas and new characters. And that's something we're pretty excited to work on going forward. We definitely have an idea about evolving a little bit and kind of rebranding ourselves. And I think that's something that it's time for in many, many ways. And the second part of there was another question he asked too, right?
Hobbies.
Yes. I'm going to say when it comes to hobbies, I mean, my biggest thing when I'm at home and I try and shut everything off, I mean, I would say a hobby is just staying in shape, fitness, working out. That is a hobby because I do enjoy it very much. Podcasting is obviously one because I end up doing this pretty regular. And John and I, we're going on the road. We're doing more shows, live shows, and we love teaming up and partnering with Jeff's concerts. That's a lot of fun. But I would say probably my favorite hobby is just to be outside and be playing with my kids. We don't get to do it as much right now because it's very, very cold. It's freezing. It's been a pretty brutal winter, but just hanging out with my kids, playing with them, and just making sure to be present in the moment because they grow so quickly. It's going to seem like a blink of an eye and they're all going to be grown. So I try and take in every single moment I can with them while they're little.
Great question from Coach Rosie, your boy. Says, as a fan, who would you personally, Matt Hardy, pay to see in 2025 in wrestling?
That's funny. Just because considering I know everybody across the industry, I don't.
Let's take the general appeal of these people, right?
Yep.
Like if they're one talent in wrestling that if you put your fan hat on for a second, you're like, man, I could just sit and watch that guy. He's got my attention. She's got my attention 100% of the way. I think I know who your answer would be, but I'm curious.
In all honesty, and this is just because he hasn't become a player yet. He's on his way to becoming a player. But I think if I was just sitting back as a fan, I removed everything out of it, and I was a diehard fan like you are, John. If I keep up with everything, I think I would be interested in going to see Joe Hendry because I'd be so intrigued. Okay. I'd be so intrigued by his path to succeeding, his path to becoming a main event player, and like how far can he go? This is a guy who was relatively unknown a couple years ago, and now he is on TNA as a top tier guy, and now he's showing up on NXT, and he may show up on WWE. You don't know. I think he would probably be the one because he is very intriguing to me. Just the fact that he has been able to create this buzz around himself to become such an over concept.
Do you think he wins the title this weekend against Nick Nemeth?
If I have to bet money on it, I would bet that Joe Hendry wins the title this weekend against Nick Nemeth. And he's I love Nick too. Big fan of Nick. I think Nick's done a great job as champion, but deep down, I think I want to see Joe Hendry win. And I think it is time to pull the trigger on Joe Hendry and push him as the face of Impact Wrestling right now. TNA.
Yeah, I thought Joe Hendry should have been champion 3-4 months ago, honestly, but better late than never. So let's see if they end up doing it. You got a match against the Rascals coming up this weekend too. That's going to be fun.
Yeah. We're myself and Jeff in 2025. We're facing the 2000 version of ourselves. So we better ready to get our hustle on. We better get ready to get our hustle on.
I would have thought your answer to that would have been Drew McIntyre, honestly.
Yeah, Drew McIntyre. I'm too personally connected, I think, to Drew. Okay. I'm too personally connected, maybe. And I see, with me, it's not as intriguing because Drew has been the world champion. Drew has been to the highest of the highs, and he has proved himself. Joe is still in the process of doing that, so I feel like that gives me even more motivation to cheer for him and get behind him.
That's fair. Josh Henney, another Extreme Life faithful.
There we go. Coach Josh and Josh Henney, back to back.
So he wants to know, is there a single wrestler that you would like to see get pushed in any promotion right now? Ethan Page has been such a breakout star for 2024, in his opinion, he says. So who would you say, one wrestler that you'd like to see get a push this year in wrestling?
There's going to be a bunch of names, I'm sure. I would like to see Wardlow get a push. I would like to see Wardlow land in a promotion, and I would like to see them push the shit out of him. And I'm not saying make him have a streak, go undefeated like Goldberg, but like he has such a charisma, he has such a look, and he is so talented, and he has such a good attitude. Like he has all the makeups of a big star. Just someone needs to like elevate him and put him in a position to succeed.
Good answer. I totally agree with you. I'd always down for some more Wardlow. Never something I'm going to be upset about. Let's see. Let's go to, here's a fun one from Adam. If you could have starred alongside The Rock as either Broken Matt in the Jumanji movies or Big Money Matt in the Baller series, which would you have chosen? That's a great creative question. I like that one.
That is a very creative question. I would have loved to have done both. In all honesty, that those fit really good. I'll probably have to say Broken Matt, just because Broken Matt is so dear to my heart, and just Broken Matt is just would be such an amazingly easy character to write for, because he can get away with anything. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of parameters on what he's doing, so that would be fun. But with the same thing being said, being on Ballers and being Big Money Matt would also be a lot of fun, and I feel like there'd be a lot of space to do cool content there too.
Certainly so. I like that question. Good one, Adam. I tell people,
Very
when we
good
do
one.
Ask Matts, the more creative you are with your questions,
Yep.
the more likely you are to get your question read. I appreciate every
Yes.
question sent in, but there are only so many times I can read the question. If you could face any wrestler, dead or alive, who would it be? You know what I'm saying? So let's keep those questions fresh. That was really good. Jay the K, Jim Cow asking, what are your thoughts on the whole Cory Graves situation?
It's interesting. Matt doesn't speak until he has all the facts.
Very true.
It depends. I mean, I'm very much of the wrestling mindset. I always first question of things are legit or not, or if it's like a work. And it seems like this is like a legit incident. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know a lot of I don't know a lot of the backstory, obviously. I don't know like what his frustrations may have been, if he's been promised something, if he's not been promised something, or they're just looking at that as like he's being vocally outspoken, and that's something they don't want. I really don't know. I can say that I am a big fan of Cory Graves' work. I think Cory Graves has done fantastic work. I think he's come so far as a commentator, and I think he is very, very good at it.
Certainly so. I hear a Barty Hardy.
Oh my God, Barty, come here. What are you doing? Just
I just collected these all. I'm gonna send them.
Hold up. Look at it, guys. Look at this. And we dropped a couple of them.
Even this one.
Oh my goodness.
He just brought in a whole Royal Rumble. All right, thank you.
I'm gonna sell all of these.
You're gonna sell them. They're mine.
Okay, that's how you know he's a true Hardy.
Easy there. You sound like Whoopi.
You want me to keep them?
Easy there, big Bitcoin Barty.
Bitcoin Barty.
You want me to keep these?
Yes, I want you to keep them.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm gonna
So gracious.
I'm gonna collect them.
Oh my God.
Oh boy.
Just
he is
wait
something
until I
else.
get 1 million Matt Hardy figures.
Okay, 1 million. I'll wait.
There's probably 1 million out there. So that's keep gotta collect them all. Gotta catch them all. That's what they said in Pokemon.
Gotta catch them
right?
all. Gotta catch them all.
Catch them all. Okay, let's get to this one from Cody. I want to put over Chris Van Vliet for a second. He did great interviews with you and Jeff this past week that dropped. And he got pretty personal with Jeff. And you kind of hinted at it last week where you said Jeff broke down some of those barriers that have existed for a while with him. And I know you've got no problem being real on this show. So let me ask you, Cody's asking, this may be very personal, but has Jeff's past issues gone in the way with you guys as brothers?
Yes, they did. There was a time where when he first got in trouble a couple times with WWE, and my wife was a little outspoken, and she's a little over the top sometimes too, but she was a little outspoken about it, and she was telling Beth like this should happen, and I was like, hey man, I'm like here for you, like I want to do what I can to help you. But there was tension at that point in the family for a little while, which eventually we took care of it. We addressed it and took care of it. But yeah, there has been tension. I remember back in 2002-ish, whenever Jeff and I first separated, and he was on the road traveling with some guys that were more experienced and probably weren't being the best role models for him when he was doing things. And there was a point in time where I was really worried about him there. And after he was released from WWE the first time, there was a point where I was very concerned about him and like how he was going to be and if things were going to be okay. And I would do whatever I could to help him out. Like I would, if he needed to go somewhere and get treatment, I would pay for it. I would do whatever. And, you know, he was obviously at the time very, very rebellious. And then eventually he dropped everything he was doing on his own. He was good for a while. He came back, and then, you know, pills ended up being an issue after his back and body was all messed up. And then that finally ended at Victory Road. After the whole thing with Sting, that ended completely. No more pills for Jeff Hardy. And he swore off them and he never would do them. But alcohol was the hardest thing for him to really get a hold of, because it had a hold on him, and he couldn't get a hold of it, you know. But finally he reached that point where he'd gotten into enough trouble and he had to face it, and he was willing to face it, and he was willing to make those hard changes, and he did. And he's so grateful that he did now. It's crazy. It's just, he's still Jeff Hardy. He's still weird. He's still strange. He's still enigmatic. But he is also very grateful, and he's also very straightforward in his thought process. And even like when he was reflecting on that on the Chris Van Vliet podcast about, you know, if he had his mind where it is currently in his 20s and 30s, like how big of a deal could he have been, you know, which is an interesting thing to think about in hindsight. But yeah, there has been times where there's been family strife, you know, between us. But like I can say honestly right now, our relationship is very, very good now. We're both very comfortable with who we are. We're both very aware of what the other brother is, and we get along great. Like I know there's been weeks where we've been away at TNA and doing stuff, and we just have the time of our lives as we're hanging out doing a ton of media, being overworked by that damn Ross. You know, we enjoy it. You know, we do. We have fun. We have fun being together.
All I gotta say is that's all I have to say to that.
Yeah.
Great answer. Glad to hear you guys are in a great spot. Super proud of Jeff. He's crushing life right now, and that's what matters most. Got one from the wrestling historian here, who's a day one Extreme Life and Matt Hardy supporter.
Lots of love for wrestling historian.
What was the plan for your 2 TNA tag title reigns if Jeff hadn't gotten injured and if you guys hadn't left the company? So 2015, when Jeff has the accident, and then 2017, when you guys leave for WWE. Do you know what the creative directions were at the time?
Great question, by the way. In 2015, I think we had an arc of a couple people to work with. I think we're going to have a couple programs, but I mean, like Jeff did that immediately after we won the title. So that obviously didn't happen. And we never had an ending point at that time. And when we were doing the Expedition of Gold on our second reign, whenever we won the titles at Bound for Glory, and we did the whole Expedition of Gold stuff, like, and I know I've talked about this some, we had, you know, talked with TNA and Ring of Honor, and we were going to work an interpromotional angle with the Hardys kind of representing TNA and the Bucks as the tag champions representing Ring of Honor, and we was going to work a program with those guys throughout the summer. That ended up falling apart once the Jeff Jarrett thing came. Once Jeff Jarrett came, and we say this all the time, Jeff Jarrett, it's great to see him now. He's in such a great place. At that time, though, there was a lot of friction between him and us, and then we ended up pulling out on resigning. We were going to resign. We had deals that were promised. Some of those deals got pulled off the table. So we stepped back and we didn't sign. We ended up returning to WWE, obviously. But while we were doing that, there was no end date on us losing the tag titles. We knew we were going to do something with the Bucks, and probably both of us, we would have probably won the Ring of Honor championships, and they would have probably won the TNA championships. And then we'd probably ended up kind of like leveling out at the whole end of the program. But obviously that never happened. But there was no end date on like when our run was going to stop during that run, because we were so hot as Broken Man Brother Nero.
It ended up working out, though. You obviously have the return at WrestleMania. It creates one of the best moments of your entire career. What was it that Michael Cole said when you're walking down the aisle there about you?
He said, look like things are about to be broken.
Well, I can tell you something that won't be broken is your dick when you take BlueChew, Matt Hardy. You see, we want to help you have better sex with BlueChew, because BlueChew is the original brand offering chewable tablets. These erection-enhancing tablets help men achieve stronger and harder and longer-lasting erections for sexual
activity. And they are wonderful erections.
Hey, speak for yourself, my friend. It's called a personal endorsement. BlueChew is putting its money where its mouth is and offering you a month free Almost went to a dangerous place there. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. BlueChew tablets are made in the United States and prepared and shipped directly to your door. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. The best part, it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. So, Matt Hardy, people want to know, is BlueChew working in House Hardy?
BlueChew always works. If it's used in House Hardy, if it's used in House Alba, it is used everywhere. You know, how BlueChew just works through and through, and you don't understand how hard you become when you use BlueChew.
Oh my goodness. That's again something that everyone's got to figure out on their own. And you see, BlueChew won't stop until every man is bricked up like a brick house. You want to be as stoic as Powerhouse Hobbs? BlueChew might help get you there. You want to make your life easier by getting harder and discovering your options at BlueChew.com. We got a special deal for our listeners. Try your first month of BlueChew free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank BlueChew for sponsoring the extreme life of Matt Hardy. I like popping you there, Danny, saying these BlueChew ads are the best. So
yeah, no, it popped me great.
That's good. Okay.
When you threw out the D word, it popped me big.
Christy, what's a favorite match of yours that no one talks about enough?
I mean, my answer, and I'll probably stick to this for a long time. It is the double turn, myself versus EC3, where we had the last man standing match where he became a babyface and I became a heel as Big Money Matt.
10 years ago this year, right?
No. That was 2016.
Okay. All right. Close to 10 years.
Yeah, not 9 years. We're 9 years out.
Close to 10 years.
That date's coming up very soon. Yeah, very close to a decade. But yeah, it's coming up very soon, says the net.
Says the net.
I get a lot of that from Wrestling Historian too.
It's very true. Let's see. We got Mike. Great question. Did you ever have an agent negotiating your deals? If not, what is your process for how you navigate terms with companies, indies, conventions, etc.?
No, I've never had an agent. A lot of guys do, especially now. Currently, I'm really old school, man. I like to take care of my own stuff. So I handle all my own business, and that's one of the reasons. Like I stay so busy. I have so much stuff to cover. I'm always like trying to reach back out and do stuff. I don't know. It's just my dad was very much like that. He just took care of all his own stuff, and I think both Jeff and I kind of felt like that as well. Although Jeff really doesn't do anything, he just lets me do it because he needs me to do it. But yeah, I am the guy who is taking care of all of our business, and I address all those issues, and I'm the contact through and through. We do have a guy that helps us out with the cons. His name is Tony, and he does a real good job at like booking us with cons and doing this. And he's great to work with. He used to referee back in the early 90s, so we've known him for 30 years.
Tony's done a great job. So shout out to Tony there. Let's go. This is a fun one from Katie, who's a longtime Extreme Life supporter, has worn the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy t-shirt.
Yes.
To the front
Hello,
row.
Katie.
She asks, what superlative were you voted in high school? Is it still accurate today? And if you weren't voted one, what do you think you should have been voted?
I think because everyone knew my goal was to be a pro wrestler, I was most likely to be a pro wrestler.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Most likely to be a pro wrestler. That was me.
Worked out.
From Union Pines High School. Look at that. It half-ass did.
Look at that. Half-ass did. Yeah.
It half-ass did.
I was most likely to be president, but unfortunately, I'm not trying to invade Greenland, so I can't get there. Anyway, let's keep moving here. Josh Mudd, best advice for a 47-year-old male starting at a wrestling academy tomorrow.
I mean, the best advice I could give anyone is to make it a lifestyle. I mean, if you are going to wrestling school, I would say make it a lifestyle in the way you train in the gym, the way you train in the ring, the way you eat, the way you sleep, the way you take care of your body physically. Especially if you're a little bit older, you have to work extra hard. And I would just be aware of everyone in all promotions, because if you start working and you do get an opportunity to go to an MLW or a TNA or whatever it may be, you need to be ready. You need to know who else on the roster. You need to know their names. You need to know what they do. You just need to be prepared, because you never know in pro wrestling when the correct opportunity may pop up that will get you some notoriety and also allow you to network yourself and kind of become a thing in pro wrestling.
Great answer. Totally agree with you on that. Let's go to Juice. What was your favorite moment or match from your United States Championship run in 2008? Shout out to MVP, by the way, getting back in the ring this week on Dynamite. Looked great.
Yeah. I mean, I would say probably my favorite match in that, it wasn't the best match I had during the run, but just the actual blow off match of defeating MVP for the US title, because we had that deal where he had turned on me and I initially wasn't going to be out that long, but it just turned out I had to get my appendix removed the following week, so I was out from that. And while I was getting the appendix removed, I got a couple other things fixed. I got some other work done. I got my elbow scoped and took care of my body a little bit. So when I came back, it was a little later, but I returned at WrestleMania 24. I did the big deal where I dropped him with a twist of fate off the ladder, stopped him from winning, and then we got to the title match at Backlash, and it was cool. Just the fact that we finished up that angle and I finally defeated him for the US title. I would probably say that was my favorite match, even though it probably wasn't the best one, because it was the strongest in the story, and I focus more on story and moments than match quality.
We love a little comeuppance. Let's get to Valerie, who's asked so many great questions over the years. Says, what are the best pizza places to eat while on the wrestling road, and what's your go-to pizza to eat?
Not a big pizza person, just for the diet reasons. My favorite pizza, which might be blasphemy to some of the pizza diehardies, but it's Bob's Pizza. It's a thin crust pizza, and it's so funny. My son Wuffy was just saying, he said, I really love Bob's Pizza. He said it's the best. You have to go there and eat it. You can't take it home. You can't get it to go. You can't get it delivered, because if it gets cold, it's not as good. But if you eat it when it's hot, it's perfect. It's perfect.
He's really on the food influencer kick, huh?
Yeah, very much so. But I would say that is probably my favorite. If I am eating a pizza, either just a standard pepperoni or like a barbecue chicken pizza. One of those two.
We got to educate you on this one, pal. We got to. To be fair, I've never steered you wrong food wise. Never steered you wrong. And
I mean, I have eaten every type of pizza. If you are inquiring on that,
have you had New Haven pizza?
I don't know if I've had that specific pizza.
Okay, all right. See, New Haven pizza, New Haven style pizza is. I know you've performed in New Haven and Connecticut. Connecticut's your favorite place to perform.
You have told me about this. This is like an urban legend, right?
Yes. New Haven style pizza. They're these very old brick ovens. They are super unique and flavorful toppings. Frank Pepe's Pizzeria in New Haven. I'm putting them over. Free promotion here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. It's the greatest pizza I've ever had in my life. The white clam pie, which is a white pie, garlic, olive oil, clams. Are you a clam guy? You like clams?
I do.
Buddy, throw a little bacon on it too. It is. I'm salivating thinking about this.
Mm-hmm.
Salivating.
Is it thick crust? Thick crust?
I'd say it's
middle of the road.
Thinner. It's thinner. I wouldn't call it thin crust, but it's thinner than a thick crust, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the char on it is amazing, because these ovens are from like the 1920s. It's just fantastic. So that would be my recommendation to anyone who's in the Northeast. Make your pilgrimage there at some point. We'll get you over there at some juncture.
I was just going to say, talking about thin crust and thick crust, whatever, whenever myself and MVP, who we were just referencing earlier, whenever we did that pizza eating contest, that was the thickest crust I have ever eaten.
God.
It was brutal. Trying to jam that in my mouth. It was big, and it was like 1.5 inches thick. What the hell? Yeah, I mean, it was the ultimate deep dish pizza. I was like, you guys want to have a pizza eating contest with this? They got us. Bad rib.
Good thing he's gonna puke, right?
Yeah, I was gonna puke. I drank my medicine. I made myself so sick I puked for a day.
Austin, who always asks great questions at these what's one match that if someone never watched you perform, like as Matt Hardy,
Mm-hmm.
that you would suggest that shows them what you're all about as a performer? He suggests Matt Hardy versus Edge at Unforgiven 2005.
That's
What
a
would
good one.
say you?
Yeah, I mean that's a great standout match. I mean, if you're just wanting to see like what Matt Hardy is, I would also say the street fight that I had with Edge is another good one, which happened a couple weeks before on Raw. I thought that was great, especially from the story aspect of all that. I would say if you could watch my rivalry with MVP, if you could kind of see a highlight package of the whole thing, that would be something that would kind of encapsulate who I am, especially as more of Matt Hardy, the will not die guy. I also think if you were wanting to see who Matt Hardy version 1, the Sensei of Mattitude is, watch myself versus Rey Mysterio, main event of SmackDown for the Cruiserweight title. I think that that was a fun time, and that there was a lot of great moments I had doing version 1. If you want to see broken Matt Hardy, just watch any of the cinematic things, and that you kind of get a taste and feel of what I'm going for while doing that.
I think it's got to be the final deletion if you're looking for that one, just because of how game changing it was. Those are all good suggestions. Dig it. Trent, what are your thoughts on TikTok possibly getting banned in the US, and what's Rebby's reaction to hearing about this?
She has had an extremely stressful week. It's funny. I was just telling her, I saw she did a lot of TV yesterday where they were just asking her about TikTok. You know, once again, I'm not highly educated on the stuff. Like I don't have TikTok personally, but I do know she loves it, and it's a great source of income for her. So she's hoping that it is continued, you know, that it is at least delayed. At least they don't just like ban it on Sunday, automatically poof and gone. And I think something came across last night. I think she had texted me that there was some sort of positive take on stuff.
Yeah, there's rumblings that the Biden administration may pull a last minute swerve, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'd heard. And it's just so funny because I even know when Trump was just talking recently, said, yeah, I know they're going to ban it, but, you know, like TikTok kind of helped me win. And, you know, I kind of got a soft spot in my heart for it, which is so funny if he ended up being the hero of TikTok. But yeah, it's a really interesting outlet, and there's just so much content on there, and it's massive and it's huge. I know there's so many people that love it through and through and through. So I'm just, you know, I hope for my wife's sake that it is continued in some form. And I don't know what that looks like at the end of the day. I guess they want to make it so that it is safe for America and Americans. So I mean, if they can do that and continue it, then hopefully that works out somehow.
Nicholas Green, fun question. Again, I like the unique ones. Who would you cast, non-wrestlers, as a dumb buddy duo for a reboot of Ready to Rumble? Have you ever seen Ready to Rumble, Matt?
I have seen parts of it. I haven't seen it all. But just saying, who would I recast as dumb wrestlers?
So well, as the dumb, so you know, it's David Arquette's the lead, and you know they have the little dumb buddy combo, and they get drawn into the world of WCW and all that. So I don't know how in tune you are with that, but I'll expand the question with would you dig a Ready to Rumble remake in wrestling today? Who would you like to see in it?
I mean, the biggest reason I am familiar with Ready to Rumble is because Shane was a stunt guy on there. He was a double,
right.
You know, so I know he kept flying out there. He was doing that all the time, and it's weird because we were busting our ass on the road doing that. So I was like, that's when I like watched so little TV. It was just work. Life was wrestling during that time. As far as who would be funny for that role, maybe throw a Danhausen in there in some capacity. Danhausen has a lot of comedy flavor to him.
Props to Danhausen having a Kidhausen.
Yeah. Congratulations to Danhausen. I saw that as well. That is cool. Yeah. Let me see Danhausen, and who would be a good buddy for Danhausen? It would just be a silly ass person. Maybe a Stokely Hathaway.
I'm all about Stokely Hathaway being something like that for sure. Stankley being something like that.
Good old Stankley, man.
Certainly all about that. There was a post that went viral online recently. I can't remember where it was, but it had like the financial requests for any of the WCW personnel who were going to be in Ready to Rumble. Mm-hmm. And like the one person outside of the top guys that requested like full accommodation, first class flights, massive salary. Mean Gene Okerlund, which popped me big. So I thought that was pretty great.
There you have it.
Here's a good one. We got a couple more and then we'll wrap up. Artificial Artist asking, what's the best bar fight you witnessed involving the boys? I'd have to imagine Gangrel and Michael Hayes is one of them, but you've told that story a million times. So are there any others?
I mean, when it comes to all this, I haven't seen a ton. There wasn't a ton of bar fighting going on. A lot of that had kind of been phased out. I mean, I obviously saw incidents, you know, the Michael Hayes Gangrel thing, but the bar fight that stands out the most to me, I was younger. I've been friends with Marty Garner for a little bit. First name Sham, last name Payne. I was with Marty Garner and a buddy of his one time in Weston, North Carolina. And there was an incident that started breaking out. And of course it happened over girls. And I'm younger, right? And I was just old enough to get in. Marty was in this place. He was kind of running the show like a man, whatever. He was the man at this joint. And there was some sort of dispute going on. And then they got into a fight with a guy. And I'll never forget, Marty was doing something. And he grabbed this guy and tackled him down after this guy punched him, hit him with like a sucker punch. And then Marty tackled him and took him down and started punching him. And this guy pulled a knife out and started stabbing him in the ribs. And I was like, Marty! And it was the first time I'd ever seen violence like that. I mean, I'm 17, 18 years old, I think. And ended up taking him off. And then me and his buddy drove him to the hospital. And he had to go to the hospital and get stitched up. And fortunately, he was okay. But that was probably the most wild thing I'd saw, especially being younger.
I got to find this. I totally meant to send this to you, and I forgot to. I did a highlight on SNY a few weeks ago. And, you know, when I do highlights, I like to get colorful with them.
Yeah.
I like to add some personality into them. And I think I was doing this for an audience of one, quite frankly, but there's a player on the Knicks named Cam Payne. And
First name Cam, last name Payne.
First name Cam, last name Payne. And I got to find the clip. I forgot to ask for it. I'm going to try to track it down and send it to you.
That's true. That's tremendous.
You get a good pop from that. And,
yeah.
And,
oh my God. Yeah.
Again, audience of one or two, maybe, but still.
Yeah. Audience of two, because I'm here for
it. William asking, how was your entire WrestleCade weekend? It was great to meet you and being at the live podcast and Jeff concert. Thanks for coming out, William.
Yeah, thank you. WrestleCade was a blast, a lot of fun. We had a super busy day. You know, we tried to knock it out, went through that line, stayed busy. You know, the Dudleys, I know they were there front row to witness the Hardy machine, and they said it was a pretty powerful machine. They were impressed with it. But yeah, we did that. We had a great time. It was weird being at a WrestleCade and not wrestling. I feel like I typically perform there. This is the only time I think I've been there and not performed. But it was all good. It was great to do the podcast with John. We had a great time. John and I actually got to go to a little spot, and we caught a little barbecue in between our events. So it was a lot of fun, man. And just everybody that came through was so cool and so nice, and just a great turnout. The one thing I maybe do regret is that I didn't get to interact with more people and take more photos. And some of the people that were just there for the con, I hate that I didn't get to see them.
Yeah. That was before I got on my new meds for my reflux. So next time we're together, I will be indulging much more so. Let me tell you that. Two more, and then we will wrap this baby up. Justin, had you debuted the broken Matt Hardy character in AEW in front of a live audience instead of an empty arena? Because you've talked about in the past, Matt, how you felt like that kind of doomed the character from the start. Mm-hmm. Do you think you would have had a better reaction, or would it have still fallen flat?
It would have definitely had a better start because it depends on an audience, and also if it would have been in front of an audience, we probably wouldn't have done the teleporting bit. You know, we would have just done, you know, a standard broken Matt Hardy. He could have said the words funny. He could have done the stuff. I mean, if there was a bit of a trace of magic, then, you know, it is what it is, whatever. But like, you know, if it had been in front of a packed crowd, it would have been totally different. And I have no idea how different, but it would have been much better. And I would have had a much, much better chance of being a hit in AEW if it had an actual audience and not the pandemic time and no crowds.
And we got one more question, then I'm going to hit you with some breaking news before we sign off here, as I'm going to read through this as you answer this question. Caleb asking, and thanks for everyone for all these fantastic questions. Do you have a favorite call to one of your matches? JR in the Attitude Era calling Hardys versus Edge and Christian versus Dudley's match was absolutely my favorite part of wrestling. You guys telling the stories in the ring and JR providing the narrative was absolutely classic.
Well, one of my favorite things is before I do the leg drop off the cage, like, my God, Matt, think of your family. You know, I mean, he does hit those lines that they're just so dramatic. You know, JR was real good about that, about locking in and just catching it, and was very dramatic. And that's the first one that stands out. You know, so I guess that one kind of resonates with me.
I always loved, because, and I apologize, I'm trying to pull up this breaking news article. It looks like the website is crashing as I'm doing this. I always loved when JR would get so into it that he would confuse you and Jeff, or he would confuse Edge and Christian, because he was just so enamored in what he was seeing, right? Like, it was just such an event that such a spectacle. You on the ladder, Jeff hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah.
But I mean, JR, when it comes to creating a moment that creates a star, there's no one better in wrestling history than Jim Ross.
Right. I don't disagree at all.
All right.
It was also very funny whenever the finish of No Mercy 99, Jeff's up there pulling down the sack of money, and he's like, "Get the money, Matt Hardy," and then Jeff takes it and falls off. All right, here we go. Must have something big. Got some breaking news, huh?
Jeff, make yourself famous, kid, right?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Breaking news. This literally just came across into my inbox as we were about to sign off. A press release from WWE. WWE and TNA Wrestling announce multi-year partnership. NXT superstars and TNA wrestling stars to appear across weekly WWE and TNA programming, WWE premium live events, and TNA pay-per-views. January 16th, 2025, WWE, part of TKO Group's holdings, and TNA Wrestling, one of the world's top wrestling brands and a subsidiary of Anthem Sports Entertainment Today, announced a multi-year partnership aimed at creating unprecedented crossover opportunities within WWE and TNA programming for NXT superstars and TNA wrestling stars. The agreement will enable talent to garner additional exposure across key WWE and TNA programming, including weekly flagship shows such as NXT, select WWE premium live events, TNA Impact, and TNA pay-per-views. And then there's a bunch of quotes and speak. And they talk about all the history between the two. This sounds like an episode for next week, so I don't want to give too much into this, but your initial reaction as this breaking news comes across to two companies you're very much involved with here.
Yeah, I felt like I had heard a little bit of this. This is something that may happen. So it doesn't come as too big of a shock, you know, from being on the inside a little bit. So I think it's real cool, though. I'm glad that is put out and they are releasing that press release with pride.
You know, if you come see the Hardy Party in Indianapolis, now that there's this partnership, Matt, well, anything truly can happen in the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, and that Royal Rumble's the next night. I don't know, just saying.
You're right. Anything is possible when you're part of House Hardy. Anything.
Very true. Very true. We want to remind you guys to head on over to advertisewithhardy.com, promote your business to the extreme, get out in front of thousands of listeners and viewers every single week. Advertisewithhardy.com. We got that live show, WrestleCon.com, is where you pick up your tickets. Thank you to everyone for all these great questions. Matt, anything else you want to add here?
No, man, these are fun. I love doing Ask Matts. Thank you guys for all the great questions. And there were a lot of really original questions. You guys keep in that mindset. I love that. Keep bringing these original questions whenever we do these Ask Matts. I love it. You definitely are much more likely to be chosen, because there was a ton of submissions I saw this week. A lot of people responded. There was a lot of great questions. Thank you guys for submitting these great and original questions.
The words have been spoken. We'll see you next week right here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy.
Delete.
My skin's dying because you're under it. I'm done lying to myself for this. For all the wondering, believing that it's making me weak. I'll fade away and classify myself as obsolete. My skin's dying. I'm done lying.
SaveWithConrad.com. My name is Catherine West from Visalia, California. And for many years, my husband has listened to the podcasts. And so every time I am stressed about anything, he has said, well, we need to call Save with Conrad. We ended up in a situation where we thought this would be helpful for us. So we were struggling with some credit card debt that we had. We knew that we had some equity in our house that we could possibly access to get some cash out and refinance, consolidate some of those things. And so we were able to do that with this latest refinance that we did. It saves us so much on interest and really helps us out financially. Plus, we have a little left over to be able to do a few things around the house that we wanted to. And the money that we were paying into those things, we can hopefully start saving now. In that alone, we'll save $1,400 a month. And it didn't change our house payment, maybe even like $50 less. I feel like we're far away in terms of like the United States, but I don't feel that far away from you guys. I always feel like you're a phone call away, you're an email away, and always like available to me. Diane Raver is who we worked with. And every time I needed her, I was able to reach out and contact her. And she was always getting right back to me. I felt heard. I called with real concerns and I really just needed some help and to figure out how to make this work. I never felt like I was getting this because you just wanted business. Like I felt like you genuinely care about what I need and you heard what I needed and then you found a way to make that happen. And so I recommend you guys wholeheartedly. I feel like you'll be honest and helpful. And feeling heard is just what every person wants to have done when it's in a situation like this. My name is Catherine West, and I saved over $1,400 a month with SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. SaveWithConrad.com.